Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back again. And this is the final part of this mini series of the part two series. I, in case you haven't been keeping up with the series and just don't know, um, after watching Rebel Moon, the Scargiver, I started thinking about, well, what makes a part two a good part two? What makes it better than the prequel? And so the question then became, well, are all part twos bad? Are all sequels bad? Or is there something that, or are there things that elements or things that can make the sequel better than the prequel? So, just in a matter of an attempt to respond to all this, I decided to just simply eh, review four movies, four part twos, and see how they compare to the first movies, the prequels. And so, for this final part of the series, I'm going to go over Kung Fu Panda Part 2. Now, in Kung Fu Panda, the first movie, uh, which I should probably make a review on that movie as well as a separate video, it's about a panda who is being raised by a goose. And this goose, his father, wants him to be kind of like his successor in the kitchen. They have this restaurant. But Po wants something more. I mean, he's always been attracted to martial arts, and he wants to become a martial artist just like the Furious Five. You know, this elite group of warriors. And there's this opportunity to go over to the palace, the Jade Palace, and he takes it, he goes, and something goes terribly wrong. But at the same time, it reveals that he is chosen by Master Uwe to become the new Dragon Warrior. Wow. I mean, the Dragon Warrior is a big thing. However, Master Shifu is not really convinced, and as Master Shifu is the current teacher, you could say, he gives Po a rough time. And so he tries to teach him, he tries to train him. Nothing seems to work. And that's when it kind of clicks on him. And not on his own. I mean, Master Uwe did have to kind of push him towards that conclusion. But basically, that Po is not like the Furious Five. So he needs to be trained in a different way, not in the same way. And he does. I mean, clearly he doesn't want him to be there at first, but Master Shifu does understand that okay, he is the actual Dragon Warrior, and we need to actually teach him so that he can defend the village against the impending doom, which is, I want to say Shenlong, or anyways, it's the villain for for the first movie, right? And he trains, he becomes this great fighter, and then he needs to learn the secret. The secret being that basically the best way to be the Dragon Warrior is being himself. And after he defeats the main villain in the first movie, now everybody's happy and he's the new warrior and all that jazz. Now, part two, we go into Poe's background. Because you see, he's obviously not the goose's child. He's more like an adopted child. But there is a reason why and how he got there. And so it is revealed that Poe has nightmares of when his parents, and more specifically his mother, left him in this kind of cart with beets and other vegetables and runs away. And she runs away because she's being chased by something. By what exactly, we're not sure. And that's when we learn that, okay, there is a group of bandits, you could say, known as, well, they're more like the Wolf Army. They're made of wolves, or those are the members of the wolves. But at any rate, they are attacking villages, collecting and stealing everything that's made of steel and everything that's made of metal, and leaving the villages a mess. And in this one village where they are called to, um, the wolves don't get in trouble, but Paul does get stunned for a moment when he looks at the insignia the emblem that they carry, which looks like an eye. This paralyzes Poe in fear, but he doesn't understand why. And it's not until later on that they learn that the wolf army belongs to this. Uh, he's a peacock, so this peacock called Lord Shen, and his feathers have that design of what looks like eyes. And the reason that he gets paralyzed is because long ago, Lord Shen, when as he was growing up, he discovers that his family uses uh, this black powder for fireworks. And so now he wants to use that for more destructive purposes because he figures out that, oh, there's a lot more power and a lot more that can be done with this. And his parents are concerned because they go, well, no, we don't want to destroy stuff. They go to this seer, to this person who can view the future, and she reveals that their son is eventually going to be defeated by a warrior who is both black and white. And Lord Shen, at this time, he was a little bit older. He overhears this prophecy and decides to take matters into his own hands. So what does he do? Well, obviously, a black and white warrior is a panda. So what does he do? Well, kill all pandas before they have a chance to fight him. And that's what led to Poe's parents carrying him as a baby. The dad stays back to give the mom a chance to escape with the son. When she sees that there is no escape and sees a cart, he leaves him in the cart, runs away in a different direction so that the wolves chase after her and not him. And the cart is picked up by a goose, which we later find out that it's the same goose who, raises Poe as his son. And here's the thing: when Poe learns about the truth, he understands that, oh, the goose is not my dad. Who am I? And that leaves this void of, well, your identity. This insecurity of, well, is this who you are really? Is the person who you have become, is that really you? And that leads to quite a lot of questions, quite a lot of doubts. It messes with his inner peace. And it's not until like at the end of the movie where he kind of reconciles with himself, saying that yes, I went through a traumatic situation. I lost my family, my entire clan. I am alone as a panda, but I am not alone because I have a father who loves me. I have friends, and I have a community. I am not alone anymore. Once he makes peace with that, that is when he is able to use kind of like this secret power that Lord Shen has never been able to use and defeats him. He defeats Lord Shen along with the machines. And so this part two in particular, it's very similar to how with How to Train Your Dragon. The sequel keeps you invested by adding a different element. Now, it's in a similar way they do at the element of, okay, family, like here's your father or here's not your father. And it really, it really drives deep the message of it's not what happens to you that defines who you are. It's what you do. What you do after being hurt. How you survive. How you go above your circumstances. That is what defines who you are. And so giving that control back to somebody and telling them, hey, I mean, you might have gone through all of this, but this is not you. What you do next, that is who you are. You are in control. Don't let someone else control who you become. And that is a powerful message. And it also drives home another point, which is family. Yes, obviously your family has your blood. You shares your same blood, but not all families share that same blood. You can, somebody else can be a part of your family without sharing the same blood as you, but because you choose to include them in your family, because they matter to you and you matter to them. That is what makes up a family. The people you surround yourself with. You can choose who becomes a part of your family. Even if it's not in the traditional sense of, mom, dad, and all that. So really does, it really hits home on two fronts. And I think that it does keep you engaged. This sequel does keep you engaged with everything that's going on. So I can see that, in reviews online, they do kind of agree. They do say the same thing as, that it's a good sequel, and that, you know I wouldn't say it's the same thing for like the part three, but as I'm not talking about part three, I mean that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't recall if there was any like negatives in terms of like in general that people had, but again, they do a good job of embracing a different, adding more things for you to actually be invested in, like more reasons to care about Poe and to continue caring about the other characters and to continue caring about the world they live in, and not just, oh, we're going to make another movie just because people like the first one. No, I mean they did take their time, and they did they did take care when they made the sequel. At least that's what I feel. That they did make an honest attempt. All right, so uh, that's all I'm going to say about the part two with Kung Fu Panda. As far as my conclusions, after reviewing these four parts, these four movies, these four sequels, there is going to be, you know, misses. There are going to be, hits. What makes a part two, in my opinion, what makes a part two a sequel better than a prequel, or as good as the prequel, if everybody enjoyed it, is if the sequel gives you more of the world and gives you more reasons to actually care about it. If it's just made for, okay, we have this movie that was successful, now we're going to add one more because people will love it. Well, no, I mean, you're not entitled as a sequel to be liked if your prequel had success. It's more of, if you invest more care and give new reasons for people to come back, then people will come back and will love the sequel. If you don't, then it's going to be very much a miss. In the case of Rebel Moon, I do not think it's a bad two-part series. I do not think it's bad. Part one was good, part two was good. They have their own issues. But I think that where they missed the mark was they didn't pace the movies well enough. They tried to make a Lord of the Rings or Star Wars type of trilogy fit into 2 parts, and that won't work. That won't work because you're going to face a lot of issues with pacing. You're going to have a lot of issues with character development and a lot of issues with, well, people caring about what's going to happen next. And like people have been complaining about with Rebel Moon about, oh, special effects, like, oh, too much slow motion. I do not think they overused slow motion, but I do think that they spent too much time where they shouldn't, because they could have better managed the time to kind of improve on the story and what it was lacking, which was getting that bond with the characters, because you are forced to believe that the characters bonded immediately, which doesn't usually happen. So show us why now this group of strangers are close to the point that they're willing to sacrifice themselves for each other. But they do have potential. Rebel Moon does have potential. I do not know if there's going to be a part 3. If they do, I mean, they're going to have to figure out what to do next, because again, when you have a new story that has been done before, that doesn't exist anywhere else, you need to figure out how to give the people enough knowledge to care, to understand the world, but also the enough incentives to care for what's going to happen next and after that. And that's kind of like my gripes with Rebel Moon. But if you can tell from like Banished from Heroes Party, How to Train My Dragon, Fu Panda, they are good because they do give you more reasons to care. You do have the incentive to invest yourself emotionally to the story, to the characters, to the future of that world. But those are just my thoughts. Are there elements that make a part 2 good? Yes. Are they always bad and worse than the prequel? No. It's just a matter of the directors, story writers, the producers knowing how to handle a new storyline without compromising what made the first one good, if that makes sense. So I hope that answered the question. At least for me, it does. Part 2 can be good. It just, you need to just work on it a little bit more so that it makes sense and it doesn't rely on the success of the first part. So if you have any thoughts, do you agree? Do you disagree with anything I've said so far? If you haven't seen the rest of the miniseries, go ahead and just look at the playlist for part 1 and just continue your way. And as far as myself, that'll be it. For the podcast and for the playlist, it doesn't end here. Like I said, I just wanted to include this kind of like mini series within this podcast, but I will continue on with new videos and new episodes, I should say. YouTube doesn't call them videos, they call them episodes. I'll continue with new episodes in the same playlist, in the same podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed it. What do you think of this format so far? I mean, I'm kind of like trying to adjust these different formats, and I think even as a podcast might be simpler, but I don't know how much enjoyable it is. I mean, let me know. Let me know your take on, more audio content versus like making it very visual. So, what do you think? Comments? Any thoughts? Anyways, take care. And remember, be kind to those around you. You never know what they're going through. Bye-bye.